Hey everyone, welcome back to How to Build a Blog with Laravel. We're finally on part 27. We've done so much hard work. We just finished our authentication, and now it's time to. We just started our authentication, and now it's time to actually start implementing it. So the last video was all about the theory and the overview and the organization of Laravel's authentication system, and now it's time to actually implement that. This is actually going to be the second part of one long segment that I filmed. I actually filmed it and it was an hour long and a little longer than I expected it to be. And because originally I wanted all this to be part of one video. And I actually asked you guys on Twitter whether I should break it into two videos or one video, and got kind of mixed results. Some of you guys wanted just one hour-long video. Some wanted 30-minute videos. So anyway, I decided to split it up and do these two half-hour videos instead of one hour video. So you're looking now at the second half of what I filmed earlier. And I think that'll be good because if you didn't want to hear the overview from the last video, you might have skipped over it. And now you're here and you can just watch to the implementation of it and actually write in the code, okay? So in this video, we're going to start by writing our routes. Then we're going to finish up by writing our views and creating all the views needed for our authentication. And then the next video will go into actually writing the controller parts and all that other stuff to get our authentication working. So this one's all about routes and views, and I will see you guys after the break. So first things we need to do to actually start, I know we're 30 minutes in and we've only just basically reviewed the stuff, but I really think you guys need to understand what's happening. You had to go through and look at it, and that's why I wanted to take you on that slow and painful journey of looking at what's there, and I wanted to take the chance to explain it to you guys too, just in case you've looked at it and didn't know what was happening, okay? Now it's time to implement the authentication. We really don't need to change much with it. It's ready to go for the most part, okay? And so now we're just going to implement what's already built in here. First things we need to do is we need to set up some routes, okay? So let's come on over to our routes file. I'm going to just close everything here. Okay, we don't need any of this. Okay, closed all that, close vendor. Let's close our migrations. We're done with those. And all right, we just got our app open, and then we've got our controllers. Okay, let's go to our routes real quick. So our routes is under, you guys already know, it's under HTTP. And here's the routes we currently have. By the way, someone did mention in the last video, if you were getting confused with groups, the new version of Laravel, I started this with Laravel 5.2.15. And in Laravel 5.2.24, they did change. By default, everything is already in this middleware group, okay? So if you're just booting up a Laravel application, or you recently did, you probably didn't need to throw everything in the middleware, the web middleware, because it's already being done by default, okay? All right, next things first. I just want to mention that because someone brought that up and I looked into it and noticed it. Let's go ahead and set up our authentication. Let's just do it here at the top. So we need to do a few authentication. I'm going to create a comment, and we're going to say authentication routes. And now we're going to set up our authentication routes. So let's go ahead. First thing we need to do is we need to do a login. So when people log in, we need to be able to access them. So we're going to do a GET request for when they log in. We're going to do the built-in ones, actually. I was going to do our own, but we're going to do the built-in Laravel routes because that allows us not to have to change it, okay? And this is, remember, the beginner tutorial. We'll do all the customizing in our own tutorial, which we'll do in our own series. Laravel, by default, expects an auth/login, okay? That's where it wants you to try to log people in. And if you try to do a different URL, you can do it, but you just have to go back and change it through some of the source code that we just looked at, okay? So auth/login, you need one of these, and then you're going to point this to a controller, and you're going to throw it to the auth controller, and then auth controller. Okay, so this is the auth folder, and then the auth controller, because remember, you got the auth folder, auth controller up here. Okay, so auth controller, and then you're going to send it to the get login. All right. Now, pretty fancy here because remember that I didn't create the get login. That's a built into Laravel, but I was teaching guys from the beginning to follow that convention of doing get and then the type it is. So this is login. So we did get login is the name of the action here. And that's actually something that Laravel itself follows. So now, because we were learning that from the beginning, that's why I was kind of enforcing it. Because now as we start working the built-in Laravel functions, you can see that you already kind of know it. It's going to be familiar. All right, so that's the first one we want to do. The next one we want to do is for when we submit our login. So that's a post request. So we're going to do route post, same URL, auth/login. And this time we're going to send it to, let's see, auth controller. And then we're going to do post login, okay? So nothing surprising there. Next one we need to create is we need to create our logout. So let's go ahead and do auth/logout. And then we're going to do auth/auth controller. And we're going to do get logout, okay? Now, these are required for your authentication routes. I'm going to link you to the documentation, and you can see in the documentation it explains this, but you do need to have these authentication routes, and then you also need to have the registration routes, okay? So authentication is for logging in, and then registration is for creating new users. So let's go ahead and create the registration routes. And the comments aren't needed, but it just kind of cleans it up for you. Okay, now we're going to create an authentication route or registration route. We're going to do two of them. We just need to do there's the form where you actually create an account, right? So that's going to be just a GET request. You send a GET request to our registration URL, and then it's going to show that that form. And then when you submit that form, you're going to send a post request to the same form to actually create the user. All right, that's going to be the post request. So we're going to do both of those. So we have route get. We're going to do auth/logout, and then let's see. Oh, we got to send it. So same thing here. You guys are getting the hang of this, I'm sure. If I could type, it'd be awesome. Controller at get register. Okay. Oops. All right. Perfect. And now we're going to do route and same thing, but post. And we're going to, if you want to be really fast, we just copy all the same stuff here. Copy, paste, and we can just change this get register to post register. And we're set. All right. Don't forget the semicolon. There we go. Okay, so we've set up our routes now. So now we've got a few routes where basically if we go to our application, we go to /auth/login, we'll have a login form. And then when we submit the form, we're going to go to the poster. We're going to post to the exact same URL. That's going to go to that action. And then we have a way to log out. We just go to, we do a GET request to log out. We're going to log out. And then we've got, if we need to create a new account, we've got two ways. We've create a new form. So we do a GET request to this URL. We show the form. We do a post request. We, wait. I did the wrong stuff here. How did I do that? Auth register. Don't listen to me. Register. Okay, you guys are probably really confused. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so we're registering the user, so we got to go to get auth register because that's going to be the URL is register. Okay, and then when we post to the same URL as register, then we actually save the item into the database. That's what's happening. Okay, so we've got our URLs set up. Now it's time to tie it into the database or into the system. So we need to create our views. So let's go ahead and just create our views. In the views, we need to create our authentication form. We're going to go ahead and do that. And then we also need to create our registration form. So those, we need to create the login form and the registration form. Those are the two forms we need to create for our views, and then we can tie everything together. Let's do it. Okay, so let's come over here. Let's create our views. You guys know that. It's under resources, views. Is there one built in? I don't think there is. Okay, there's not. So what we need to do, there's not. I thought there was, but I guess there's not. You need to create a folder, and you guys do have to follow what I'm saying. For example, because unless you're going to go back and actually change it. This is the way that Laravel expects you to do it. So if you're going to do something different, you can, but you just need to go back and tell Laravel that you did it differently, which means going into the source code and changing it, okay? So follow along with what I'm doing exactly. Don't try to do it your own way. Don't think, oh, I'd rather just have it be /login. Just do it this way. Let Laravel do its thing, because Laravel expects it to be this way. If you do it the other way, it's not going to work. You have to go back and you have to change it in the source code. Doable, but it's just not what we're going to do in this tutorial. I'm going to show you how to do it built into Laravel. Okay, so same thing here. You have to follow this convention. You need to, in your views folder, you need to create a folder called auth. Okay, and auth. What happened? Where'd that folder go? Did I accidentally make the folder somewhere else? There. Oh, wow. That was weird. It just barely created. For some reason, it took a long time to create that folder. I thought I screwed up. Okay, so you need a folder called auth in your views folder. And then you're going to need, you'll do another file in here. And you'll have your login.blade.php. So let's do that. Save login.blade.php. And let's go ahead and create another file in our auth folder, and we're going to save that as register.blade.ca. Register.blade.php. Make sure you have all the spelling this correctly, because again, Laravel's expecting these. You got to follow it exactly. Okay. Now you have some leeway now that you're in the form. Okay. All you need to do once you're in the form is you need obviously CSRF protection. Okay, but that's going to be okay because we're using our form helpers. They'll do that automatically. And then you'll need to create an email form or an email field, and you'll need to create a password field. And then you're going to want, if you're going to use Remember Me functionality, you need the Remember Me checkbox and then a submit button. Okay, that's what's required in here. You can style it however you want, but you just need to make sure you have the email form or the email field, the password field. They both need to be text fields. And then the Remember Me checkbox. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at authentication or the login first. In the login, you need to do extends main, and then you need to do section, title, and do the name of your title. So we're going to do, in this case, login. And then we'll create another section for our content. And then down here, you're going to do end section. And then we're actually going to create the content. So we're going to create the fields. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have CSRF protection. Laravel will check that. So you either need to add it manually. The way to add those fields manually is to do curly bang bang, and then you'll just do CSRF fields. So it's like CSRF field like that. So if you're creating it by default, like if you're just going to create, you're actually just going to do this type of thing. And you're actually going to create your forms and not use the helpers like we've been using throughout this tutorial. You need to make sure you do this here. Okay, this is going to be required because Laravel is going to check that you have CSRF protection. So if you don't do this, your login will always fail. All right. So that's a gotcha. Just I wanted to mention. Now we're going to be using form helpers, and form helpers automatically add it, and so we don't need to worry about it. But I wanted to mention, in case you're not using form helpers, that if you're doing it manually, you still need to add that CSRF protection, or else it's always going to fail and you're never going to know why. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do form open. And you know what? Actually, we need to do, let's just set up our row structure real fast. So we'll just set up like column MD6, and we'll offset that by 3. And that'll just center in the middle. We'll have our login form in the middle. That'll center it. And now we can put our form field in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do we can do curly bang bang, and then we'll do form open. That'll add our CSRF protection, and it will also add it'll open up the form. Let's come down here and let's do curly bang bang and do form close. Like that. And then in the middle, we can do whatever we want. Okay, so, well, not really whatever we want. We can do whatever styling we want, but we do have to have an email field, and we have to have a password field. And then if we're going to do Remember Me functionality, we need a checkbox for Remember Me. So we're going to do, let's do form email. Is that a thing? Let's see if that's a thing. I'm not sure if that's a thing or not. Okay, so where I like to come for this, by the way, guys, is Laravel Collective. Not Laravel Collective, Laravel Recipes. This is a great website. I was going to create a website just like this, but this guy did it, so no point in having two of them. All right, and he did a good job. I think it's well done. Okay, so under these forms, when you're using the form helpers, that's why I like to use this, because this is not in the documentation for Laravel. This guy did incredible documentation for it. If you go into this form category, you can see how you do the form fields. So we're creating an email form field, creating an email input field. And you can see here that you just do form email. That's what I wondered, but I wasn't sure, so I wanted to double check. So it's just form email, and this creates an input of the type email, okay? And then the name of whatever you put inside of here. Now we need to make sure our names correspond with the column names in our database. You already know that it's email though, so that's what it's going to be called, is email, because we want it to match the column name in our database. Okay, so form, okay. And then you can obviously add default. This tells you everything you need to do. So the second value is a default value if you want to add that, or you put null, which is what we'll do. And then the third value is an array, and you can just put whatever other stuff you want in there, like classes and IDs and stuff. Okay, so form email. The one thing we need to do here is we need to do curly brace, and then we'll do form email, and and then we'll do email null, and then we'll create an array here for our class. And then we're going to set the class equal to form control. And I think that's all we need. Yeah, that's all we need. We might need a label, come to think of it. So let's do a label up here. Form label. And if I remember the label right, you just do, and I'm just going from memory here, I think you just match it with the text field that you're trying to get it to do. And then the second item is the value. So we'll do email. And that should be good there. Next things first, we can do form label, and then we're going to set up our password. And then we're going to do password. Okay, and then down here we just set up another text field. But if we do form password, let me see here. Just come back and you can see there's a password field. And the password field just sets the type to password is all it's doing. So it creates an input with type password just so that you get the dots or whatever, the asterisks is, to protect the password. That's all it's doing. So form password, and I believe everything's the same as the email one. So you have the name of the column, and then you'll do your default value, and then you'll do your classes. All right, make sure you have an array. These classes need to be in an array. Like that. And then if we want to do our remember me, we're going to create a checkbox. So we do form checkbox. I think it's like this. Once again, you come back to Laravel recipes, and you can do a checkbox right here, creating a checkbox input. So here you just do form checkbox and then agree. This is if you want to set the value for the true, just leave it. And then if you want it to be default true or false, you can do that as a third value. Okay, we're just going to do one value though. So we're just going to do remember, and it's just remember. Yeah. Okay, so the name of this is just remember. Okay, so that's all we need for that. Remember is what the checkbox is. And let's see. Let's add a label. Do you add a label here? Is that how it works? Remember. Okay. Last thing we need is we need a submit form. Submit form is, I think, just the value of the submit, what you want the submit to be. So login in this case. Okay. Now we should have our form field. Let's take a look at it. Let's save this and let's head on over. Let's boot up our server. I'm opening up a new tab, PHP Artisan Serve. Do that stuff. And then let's come on over here to localhost 8000. And we're going to go to auth/login. Okay, we got a controller. Auth controller does not exist. I spelled controller wrong. That's funny. All right, let's come back over to our routes file. Where's our routes file? There it is. And it looks like I spelled controller wrong. So right here, I put a U in controller. Okay, did I do that with anything else? Okay, nope, didn't. Save that. Little typos like that. Let's refresh. And now it works. So we get email, password, remember me. I forgot to set the form control, it looks like, for these. So we'll go back and do those. And everything else seems to be working, kind of, other than the classes. At least it's set up correctly. So let's come back over to our login.blade.php. And that's funny. So this is a third class, form control. So this one should have had its class, but it didn't. I wonder if it's expecting a different value. So let's come back over to Laravel recipes. Let's look at this password real fast. Okay, so password doesn't have a default value, so the second value is your classes. All right, that's where I went wrong. So we just need to get rid of this null, and it only expects 2 parameters. So let's save that, and then remember me should be okay if we just do we'll just have a line break here, and then I guess we'll just do another line break here, or you could put this in its own column, and then let's just add values for this. So for the submit button, class, and we'll just do btn success. Well, you just do primary for the blue one, primary, and then I think that's all you need. Yeah, it's good. Save that. Come back over to our thing, refresh. There we go. We got a decent little form field. Let's go ahead and just put some of these in columns, and then, or at least this one in column. Just have this one move down. Let's just do a BR. Just for simplicity. This isn't like the best designed form field, but it'll work. And we can just do, if you want a btn block, it'll be a nice big login button. Okay, just like that. There you go. Good enough for me. That'll work for right now. We've got our login form. So if you were logging in, you would just fill in this form, click login, and we'll learn about login in the next video. I just want to get everything set up in this video. Last thing for this video, because this video is getting super long, I don't want it to tie on too long. So I want to split this up because we're going to be at an hour by the time we finish this. So let's get to our registration. Let's get our registration set up. And then we're going to finish up and actually tie everything together in the next video. So we got main. You guys know the drill here. We're under the register form. I'm moving fast. We're creating the title. And then we create our content. All right. And now we're going to do a row. We're going to do a column. We'll do the same thing we did before. So we'll do column MD6 and the offset, because that looks pretty good in my opinion. And then, okay, and then in here we're going to do the same thing we did before. So we're going to do form open. And again, you want to follow what I'm doing pretty closely as far as the fields that we have and stuff like that. These need to match because it's what Laravel's expecting, okay? So if you're not using form helpers, remember to do CSRF protection again. And once again, I'll link to the description where you can find some of this information if you don't want to, you just want to see the official documentation for it. But here you're going to want the name field because that's required in the database. So we need to have a text field for name. We need a text field for email address. We need a text field for password. And then we also need to confirm the password. And Laravel expects you to be able to confirm the password, okay? And then a submit button, obviously. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to do the name field. Let's do that. Form text. And we'll do name. Of course, we have to do this. We have to do the label. Name, and then the second value is name. If you want to fast forward through this, you're welcome to fast forward through it. I just want to have it available to you guys if you want to follow along exactly. Okay, text field, default value of the second item, so we don't have one, so we're going to set it equal to null. Third item is the everything else. So in this case, we're going to use classes, form control, and we're good there. Okay, next one, we're going to do form label. And this is where we're going to set up our email. Like that. And then this one is going to be form text, or not text, we're going to do form email. And it's going to be email. And I think same thing here, you had a default value, so we can set that equal to null. And then the third value is our class, and we set that equal to form control. Those of you guys are wondering what form control is, it's just because we're using Bootstrap. Form control just makes the form look pretty in Bootstrap. It's all it does. You don't need it if you don't want to. Form label, we're doing the third item now. The third item is the password. Let's go ahead and do that. So we just need to set, well, we need a label. So password is what the name of the text field is going to be. So we set that there. And then here we can just do whatever you want. So in this case, we'll do password. Then down here, we're going to do form password to create a password field. We're going to set it equal to password. Second value is not the null this time. It's going to be the array with everything else in it. So in this case, our class, set our class value to form control. And then down here, we're going to do we're going to do remember or password confirmation. Confirmation. Yep. Okay. And then, oh gosh, I hate when the confirm password like that. And then down here, we're going to do our final item, which will be a password again. And this time it'll be password confirmation. And the second item will be the array. Okay, class. And do your form control like that. And then that's it. So you don't need anything else other than the submit button. So let's go ahead and do that. So we do our form submit like that. And we're going to do, we're going to want to, oh, actually we won't need to do that. We'll be good. Let's just do register. Okay. And then the second value in there is just if you want classes. So once again, class. Remember to create an array for these items. Form control, like that. All right, so now that that's done, we actually have our submit form. Let's go ahead and look at the registration. Save it. Come back over here. We're going to go to auth/register, like that. You can see we've got everything. We didn't finish our button. Oh, I did form control for the class. BTN, BTN primary, and BTN block. Save that. Refresh. There we go. Now we got a register button. It's a little hectic there. We actually had a class we had created that gave us some spacing. I don't remember what it was though. It's under public CSS. It's form spacing top. Let's go and just add this real quick to our button. And if we come over here, now it actually has some space. Okay, name, email, password confirmation. So we've got our forms set up, and now that our forms are set up, all we need to do is tie everything together. We need to get this registration thing working and actually start logging people in the database. So that's going to finish up this video. We're just under an hour. There was a lot to cover. I warned you guys that there was a lot of content in authentication. This is why I didn't want to take it lightly. Okay, so I wanted to take you slowly through it. We learned how it works. We learned how Laravel has it set up. Once you actually get the hang of it though, for you to do it yourself, it'll really be really quickly, because most of this video is explaining how Laravel has it set up. But once you have it understood in your brain, then for you to do it, you actually just need the second pass. It only took us like 15 minutes to the second part where we were actually creating the views and the routes and stuff like that. Also make sure that you do have your routes exactly the way that mine are, okay? And I've got information, links to all this in the description. So if you have any questions, you can go to the documentation in the description. That'll take you to the Laravel documentation, which explains it. It's a little confusing. That's why I've got the video. But you need to follow it exactly because Laravel's expecting it to be that way. If you make a change, you can't just make a change. You actually need to tell Laravel that you made a change, okay? And that's why and I showed you the source code, is that's where you would make the change. So if you're so adventurous, you can go ahead and do that. If not, I recommend just sticking around with this for now. In our advanced one, which is going to be the mini series we do after we finish this blog, we'll go into more detail about how to build it out yourself, okay? Anything else before I finish? I can't think of anything. If you are just joining now, I recommend starting from the beginning of the series. You can learn a lot from it. We've got links in the description for the playlist that shows every video up to this point. Those of you guys that are following along, good for you. You guys have made it really, really far. The next video, we're going to tie all this together. It'll probably be a long one, and I think it'll be 3 parts total. So we'll finish up authentication and registration in the next video, and then the next part will be like the remember me functionality and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I've got this authentication set up. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging in here. This was a long video. I understand, and but keep on working hard, and we're almost done with our blog. We're making really good progress. I'll see you guys in the next episode.